Welcome to Inspiring Narratives, your favorite channel for uplifting stories, renewed hope, and cultivating a deeper connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Discover with me how turning to Allah can lead you to amazing changes in your life. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're back with another uplifting story that will, by the grace of Allah, strengthen your faith and renew your hope, inshallah. Let's start by sending peace and blessings on our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. Get yourself a drink, get comfortable, and let's get started with our story. The woman of this story says, I'm married and alhamdulillah, my husband and I have a wonderful life together. We have so much love and mutual respect for each other. MashaAllah, we are truly blessed and live a happy life together. About 3 years ago, something happened between me and my husband, a huge problem that almost led to divorce. The issue started from some rumors and false accusations spread by my husband's brothers. They accused me of things that were unnecessary and inappropriate, things that never happened at all. They're a bit of a troublemaking type, always into things they shouldn't be. Because they are into these inappropriate practices, they assumed that I was the same, even though there wasn't a shred of truth in what they were saying. I've always worked, contributed to the household, and we've never had any major problems. Any minor disagreements we had would be resolved immediately. After a typical day at work, I was heading home as I usually do. I've always dressed modestly, wearing my hijab, and I tend to keep to myself. I've never overstepped my boundaries, and no one has ever overstepped theirs with mine. My colleagues and I are dropped off to our front doors, and this has been our routine for years since the beginning of our marriage. On this particular day, my brother-in-law decided to cause trouble. He assaulted the driver and accused him of inappropriate behavior. This young man, the owner of the car, he is a very respectful and well-mannered young man who always lowers his gaze, has never spoken to us about anything other than our destination. People who know him always testify to his good manners and upbringing. His neighbors and those around him, no one has ever made a complaint against him. If he was corrupt, he wouldn't have this job. And he's had this job for years. The guy has been driving me and my colleagues for years, and no one ever had any complaints against him. But I don't know why my brother-in-law did this, or what his intention was in tarnishing our reputations the way he did. My father took me home and said, you're not allowed to go back to their house ever again. Even your husband, I don't want to see his face. If he was a real man, he wouldn't have allowed his brother to say such things about you. My father is very strict and couldn't tolerate anyone talking about me in this way. So I stayed at my parents' house for 1 year and 7 months, upset and unsure of what to do. During that time, my husband would send me money along with all our son's needs, providing everything we needed. Even though my husband tried multiple times to resolve the issue, bringing people to mediate, but my father refused to meet with anyone. He was firm in his advice about the divorce, expressing concern that staying with my husband would only lead to more challenges in the future, especially if we were to have more children. My father couldn't see a future with his family, as he felt I wasn't safe with them, and believed my husband lacked the personality and strength to protect me. But my husband is a good man. The problem was just too big for him to handle, especially with everyone else getting involved and interfering. You know how people are. Some just love to talk and spread rumors, making things even worse. Our problem got so much worse because of this. My father filed a complaint against my brother-in-law. He was imprisoned for 3 months, which understandably upset my husband's family. The situation could have been resolved through open communication and understanding. However, my father, deeply concerned for my well-being, felt it was his duty to protect my reputation and expressed that he couldn't allow anyone to speak ill of me, saying, as a father, it's my responsibility to defend my daughter's honor. For 1 year and 7 months, I lived in fear and anxiety and hoping every day that things would get better, that someone would intervene, and that the situation would improve. But nothing changed. It only got worse, and my father became even more determined for us to divorce. My husband would call and tell me that he loves me and would never leave me, and that he's doing everything in his will to bring me back. He would say, as for my family, they have no say in what I choose to do with my life. I'm willing to move to another city so that we can live together and no one has anything to do with you. As for my brother, he has paid his price. After things got to the point of divorce, my father said that he was done and that there's no going back. Imagine my husband hearing this. He would cry on the phone as if he had just experienced the loss of a loved one. We were both so sad and didn't know what to do. I realized at this point that there was nothing more any of us could do. I turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All night I was repeating La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, and I'd make dua from my heart. Oh Allah, solve this problem. Oh Allah, solve this problem. Oh Allah, return me to my husband. Oh Allah, protect me from the evil of people, and in particular from the evil of my husband's brothers. As time went by, my father's determination for a divorce increased. I was afraid of losing my son, or of him growing up without his father. I didn't want him to live in a divided family with uncles who have caused so much trouble. The thought of leaving my son was unbearable. I heard about the power of the phrase, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no change of circumstances, nor strength except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I started saying it daily, sometimes up to 5,000 times out of sheer desperation. My situation was so difficult, and I had no one to complain to. My mother was with me, but she couldn't do anything without my father's approval, and she could never go against his wishes. After 14 days of constantly repeating this dhikr, something incredible happened. My father woke up early one morning around 7 a.m. and called me to talk. I made us coffee and we sat and talked. He asked, I want to understand one thing from you. Could you live with your husband if he moved to another house or city, away from his family? I told him I was ready to live with my husband anywhere he wants. My father said he couldn't sleep all night thinking about this and decided to call my husband to discuss the possibility of moving away from his family and starting fresh. His mother and father are okay to visit you, but as for his brothers, they have nothing to do with you at all. I was terrified that my husband would reject the idea or that his family wouldn't accept for him to move away from them. But when my father called, my husband immediately agreed, without even talking to his family or taking anyone else's advice, saying that he would be there within the hour to take me home. He said, I'm so happy that my wife will return to me. I don't need anything from my family except to treat them kindly and not to cut ties with them. But they have nothing to do with my wife. You have my word. If I can't protect her, who will? He convinced my father that I'd be well taken care of, and on that same day my father invited him over, and we all had dinner together and had a wonderful time. Within 2 days, my husband found us a house far from his family, and we moved in. Alhamdulillah, we returned to our normal life. Subhanallah, this dhikr had a profound effect not just on me, but on everyone around me. It gave me back my life, my happiness, and made everything just like before, and even better. It was as if nothing had happened. So always remember, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is one of the greatest phrases to relieve stress, ease difficulties, and fulfill needs by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This brings us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this story. I will see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.